Good evening. I'm Bernard Green, Chair of the Brookline Select Board, and this is the regular meeting of the Select Board for January 13, 2026. First item of business is going into executive session. I move that the Select Board go into executive session for the purpose of 1, approving executive session minutes, and 2, discussing strategy related to real property. The real property matter is being held in executive session because an open meeting discussion of the acquisition, lease, holding, or disposition of real property may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the town, and the chair so declares an executive session therefore to be necessary. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John Van Scoyac.
Aye.
David Perlman.
Aye.
Michael Rubenstein.
Aye.
And chair votes aye. We will return to open session after our executive session meeting. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
you.
Good evening. I'm Bernard Green, and this is the regular meeting of the Select Board for January 13, 2026. Let's start off with announcements and updates from the Select Board, and I'd like to start by saying that I want to introduce our new stage director, Melanie Otska, who comes to us from the town of Southborough, and we welcome her. She's been on the job for about a week now, and we're very excited about how she can help get our organization here organized and focused. So next, I want to remind people of the Martin Luther King Jr. Celebration Committee's annual event on MLK Day on January 19 at the Coolidge Corner Theater. Our keynote speaker will be Dr. Noliwe Rooks of Brown University, who will discuss the pivotal role of education in King's organizing and in the success of the civil rights movement. The program will also include 2 poet laureates. First, Brookline's poet laureate, Allison Adair, and second, very special poet laureate, the inaugural Massachusetts poet laureate, Reggie Gibson. And many of you will know Reggie Gibson from the many years that he has participated in the MLK program, as well as various programs at the high school and elsewhere here in town. As always, it will be an event that will inspire, challenge, and educate. And finally, on Wednesday, you may recall that masked federal agents dressed for war brutally killed Renee Nicole Good in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Now that's a town far, far away from Brookline, but we all should be concerned about this turn of events where our federal government has, in my opinion, declared war on American citizens. The killing of an American citizen on American soil was without just cause, a conclusion based on my viewing of the various videos of the incident with my own eyes. So I'm not going to let someone say that I should believe them and not my lying eyes. My eyes were very, very perceptive. We're all angry with this act of barbarity, and many of us will be marching in the future and marched last week to put a stop to it, to try to put a stop to it. In that context, I released a statement titled, "The Shot Heard Around the Country," acknowledging that people will and should be angry and take to the streets to exercise their First Amendment rights, and in my opinion, First Amendment duty, to stand up when something outrageous like this happens, but reminding them that our real power, our only power against the armed might of this administration is our peaceful, nonviolent confrontation of this evil. That's a powerful tool, much more powerful than the guns that will be arrayed against us. And I just urge people not allow themselves to be baited into confrontations with these federal agents that could result in violence and a destructive result, and undermine our efforts to address what is a scary situation in this country. So that's my statement. If anyone would like to see my full statement, just let me know and I'll email it to you. But any other comments, Michael?
I have 2 short announcements. The first is that on December 23rd, this select board made a decision to provide public comment to the Department of Public Utilities related to the GSEP program, which is a gas system replacement program. This week, we have in the attachments to the materials for this meeting, a series of letters from other municipalities, including a letter from a member of our town meeting, the municipalities of both Boston, Lexington, Arlington, and many others holding similar positions to our town. If anybody is interested in the collective impact of which we are participating. The second announcement is that the Brookline Commission for Women is excited and proud to announce its annual Women of the Year event to be held on Wednesday, March 11th. This event celebrates women who have shared their time, resources, minds, and souls to better the community that they live in or they serve, or to the larger community of Brookline. Nominations for Women of the Year will be accepted until February 14th at 6 p.m. You can find the nomination form on the Brookline Commission for Women webpage on the town's website or the Commission's Facebook page. And you can also contact Eileen Lee, Chair of the Brookline Commission for Women. I want to encourage everyone to share this information with your network and to submit a nomination or two. The Brookline Commission for Women looks forward to receiving these nominations because they remind us of the efforts put forth by all women of Brookline. That's it.
Thank you. Any other? John?
Thank you very much. On the select board, we have received a number of emails. I'm assuming the other members have received them in addition to myself, from people in the community who are understandably very attuned to the situation in Iran and very concerned about it, and are hopeful that there will be some way that support for the people of Iran can be expressed by the people of Brookline. They are absolutely right to be concerned, and they have the right idea in sort of spreading the word with the select board and asking for us to think about whether there's any further expression that we can make of the concern of people in Brookline for the situation in Iran. I would point out, though, that letter writing campaigns are great up to a point, but one of the downsides of them is that when a select board member such as myself tries to respond and dialogue with people, it turns out that that doesn't really happen. That there's sort of a filter that the reply goes to, and it doesn't go to the actual person. So I welcome people to write to the select board about the situation in Iran. I'd actually like to learn more about it from them, and I'd like to see what expression we as members of the select board might want to make in the future. It's a situation that's changing day by day. It's very perilous, but I just want people who have expressed concern to know that we share that concern. Even if when we reply to letters that come to us via some sort of a campaign, sometimes those letters don't reach you. But I really do want to have a dialogue if we can.
Okay, any other updates or comments? Okay, let's move on to public comment. Melanie, open up public comment for us with a reading of the rules.
Okay, thank you for joining us for public comment. This is an opportunity for us to hear your perspective on the issues in Brookline that matter to you. Each person speaking tonight is limited to 3 minutes. You don't need to use the entire time, but you may if you like. Once 15 minutes has been met, there is an opportunity at the conclusion of the Select Board's business for additional comments. Members of the public sometimes raise questions during public comment. We may be able to provide a quick answer to a question, but are more likely to work with staff to get a more thorough answer and respond over email. The on-screen timer will flash orange when you have 1 minute remaining and red when your time is nearly up. Please conclude your remarks at that time. If you have more to say, you are welcome to send an email to board members expressing your thoughts in greater detail. Any person wishing to speak must begin their comments by identifying themselves with their full name, either their Brookline precinct number or street address, and the specific topic on which they wish to speak. The board encourages, but does not require, that remote users turn their video on when commenting. The first person signed up for public comment is Charlie Homer. You can join us at the presentation station and your 3 minutes will begin.
Great.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the honor and opportunity to speak with you. My name is Charlie Homer. I'm a town meeting member in Precinct 8, and I'm chair of the Advisory Council on Public Health, and I'm speaking on behalf of the council. My comments tonight are in strong support of a proposal from the Department of Health and Human Services to establish 2 Be Well vending machines that will provide essential health promoting products anonymously and without charge, and for them to be placed outside 2 of our public libraries in Coolidge Corner and in Brookline Village. As you likely have read in your materials and will hear in far greater detail from our outstanding public health director, John Klaczynski, these vending machines will dispense naloxone, fentanyl, and xylene test kits, and in addition will dispense safe sex kits for the prevention of sexually transmitted infections, personal hygiene kits, and other like health-promoting materials. Last night, the ACPH unanimously and enthusiastically voted in support of this program and urges your implementation. Our country has finally seen a dramatic decrease in deaths due to opioids, in large part due to the widespread availability of naloxone. And we're all well aware of the homeless population in our community, and these materials can be of assistance in helping them maintain their health and well-being. This is what public health is all about. I'd also like to emphasize that ACPH believes the selection of these libraries as the preferred location is a particularly inspired choice. Libraries are safe places used by many who have few other places to go. They serve as shelters from the cold and places to stay cool during heat waves. They have computers so people can find resources, search for jobs, and more. These are exactly where these resources should be located. Thank you for your consideration, and we urge your support for the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else signed up?
Nobody in person, and there's nobody indicating that they're raising their hand in the waiting room.
Okay. So we'll close public comment and move on to our miscellaneous agenda. I'd like to take items 6B to 6E in omnibus fashion, except for item 6C, which we will defer until January 27th. But I'd like to say something about 6C. Unfortunately, the material in our packet for item 6C gave an unclear description of the purpose of the State Housing Choice Grant that we will be receiving. As a result, many people expressed some concern about what this grant will be used for. The grant will be used to hire a consultant to organize public engagement to understand what residents would like to see at the Fisher Hill site, as well as preparing test fits of different use options and related costs. The concern was that the language in the packet suggested that there was a bias towards housing with this grant program. The program awards grants for housing, transportation, infrastructure, and economic development. Thus, the Fisher Hill Committee, with public input, will evaluate municipal uses and activities, historic preservation, a shuttle service, and housing options. The committee will make multiple recommendations to the select board, and we will evaluate the recommendations and make a decision on the use of the site. Nothing is preordained in this process. So because of what I characterize as unclear description, a select board member asked to take this item off the agenda for today, and we will take it up on at our next meeting on January 27th. Just want to give people some background as to why that came off. I'd also like to point out item 6D, authorization to hire a clinical social worker for the Council on Aging. You know, we often hear that the Council on Aging gets a very small percentage of the town's budget. That's partly due to the fact, for example, that they don't have fire trucks or heavy-duty equipment or athletic fields that have to be staffed and maintained and funded. But what the Council on Aging does have is 5 clinical social workers, 1 for each day of the week. They provide the support and services that seniors actually need. The town and its residents can be very proud that those 5 social workers, I am told, significantly exceeds the number of social workers in surrounding similar communities. So percentage of town budget is not the relevant metric. What is relevant is providing the social workers and other similar services that seniors actually need. So with that comment of mine, we'll move on to um, um, approving items 6B, 6D, and 6E. Any other comments or questions? It looks like Michael.
I'm just wondering if we're going to take up 6A after?
Oh, I'm sorry, the minutes. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Why don't we do it after? We usually do it before. Mixed up, and we'll do it afterwards. But let's get this voted. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John Van Scoyac,
Aye.
David Perlman,
Aye.
Michael Rubenstein.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Now, back to the first item on the miscellaneous agenda, and that is the question of approving the meeting minutes from December 16, 2026, and last week, January 6, December 16, 2025, and last week's minutes for January 6, 2026. Any corrections to those minutes? If not,
I think I had one trivial.
all right, yeah, I saw that. If not, all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John Van Scoyac,
Aye.
David Perlman,
Aye.
Michael Rubenstein.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Okay, let's move on to our main calendar. First is boards and commissions, interviews. And this, we have one candidate for the Commission on Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Community Relations. I'd like to start off by saying, as I've said many times before, what I want to talk about what the select board should be looking for in a candidate for public bodies, in my opinion. In general, I think we should be looking for four things. Does the applicant have the skills and background that is necessary and required to be successful on the public body? Does the applicant have good ideas and perspectives on the work of the public body? Does the applicant bring relevant diversity to the public body to ensure that all communities and perspectives are represented in its work on behalf of the town? And finally, can the applicant work effectively and respectfully with other members of the public body and with the town staff that will be working with that body? To evaluate candidates, we will gather information on these areas from the application submitted, the interview, and from town staff or current members of that public body. We have just one interview today, Masu Haq. Please come up to the podium, introduce yourself, and explain why you would like to be a member of the Diversity Commission.
Will do. Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Masu Haq. I live in Precinct 14. I have lived in Brookline for 8 years now. I'm the mother of 3 children. My oldest is a graduate of Brookline High and is here tonight. While she was there, she happened to be the managing editor for DEI for the Cypress. So we had a lot of great conversations about that. My professional background is that I studied and practiced law, employment law for a number of years. Following that, I moved into law school administration. I was the director of private sector employment and judicial clerkships for the law school Pace Law. And then I moved into general career counseling for students. Since I arrived in Brookline, I have been a very active community volunteer. And that brings me to one of the reasons why I'd like to be on the Commission for DEI and Community Relations. I have a lot of experience in this town bringing people together with different organizations. I currently serve on the Brookline Center for Community Mental Health, where I'm the Strategic Development Committee Chair. So we do a lot of the fundraising that provides money for easily accessible and very needed mental health support in this town. Before that, I was on the Brookline High School Innovation Fund Board. I was there for 5 years, and 2 of them I was the vice chair. 1 of them I was in charge of nominating and engagement. And prior to that, I have done everything from I've been on the BHS School Council for 2 years. I was on the 2023 PSB Community Planning Team, and I was the co-president and secretary of the Hayes, which back then was the Heath Schools PTO. While I was there, I was a founding part of a group of parents, teachers, and administrators who formed an equity community group there called One Heath. And we did kind of an interesting discussion on equity through reading a book there. And ultimately, the reason I'm here before you all today is because I think we're at an inflection point in this country and our town with respect to the work of DEI and community relations. And this town has been committed to that work in some form or fashion since 1970. There are plenty of people in the country and in the town who don't see the work's value anymore. And that work is work that I have been doing for my entire adult life. It's things as simple as counseling HR managers on how to promote a positive work environment, civility trainings, things that prevent actual discrimination from occurring are basic tools that I could help, I think, with in the town. And moreover, the work of this commission is really twofold. It's fostering a sense of welcoming and belonging among everyone in Brookline and everyone who touches Brookline, but it's also really and truly about uplifting human and civil rights, and that's really needed now more than ever.
Thank you. So I'd like to start off by discussing your application. You linked listening with hearing,
Yes.
which is an interesting link, implying that passive listening is not sufficient. Talk a little more about that in the context of what you called in your application siloing.
Yeah, I would say that one of my observations is that particularly for people who are coming to local government meetings, is that a lot of times we come with a perspective and an opinion of what is right to begin with. And we're here to express the opinion, but not necessarily listen to the other people in the room and come to some sort of understanding with each other. So I think it's important to listen in a way where you put yourself in the other person or the other group or the other party's shoes. And I think we need people who continue to encourage us to do that. I think we're a very diverse community. I think that's one of the reasons that my husband and I, when we moved here from Houston, Texas, which is an extremely diverse major metropolitan city. And we wanted to live in a place that had a lot of diversity. Brookline really fit that bill. And one of the reasons I've gotten involved in so many different community organizations within it is because it's been an opportunity to develop relationships with people of all different backgrounds. Unfortunately, I think the world that we live in right now can feel very scary and very fraught, and people have sort of siloed themselves more, which I don't blame anyone for, or kind of put their heads down in the sand. And I think we need to sort of step out of those siloed or comfort zones, and really try and understand each other better.
One other question before other select board members ask their questions is, what initiatives would you want to see the Diversity Commission take up that they're not taking up now?
Well, I think the Diversity Commission is doing really important work in the town right now that needs new members who are actually going to come in and dedicate more time and energy and bandwidth to them. So for instance, my understanding is that there are 3 committees right now that are subcommittees of the commission. One is a very active one, which for reasons you referenced earlier about current events, is very important, the Immigrant Advancement Committee. We are very fortunate in Brookline to have the leader of that committee be an immigration lawyer who has held clinics, free legal clinics for people on their rights, and hopes to do bystander clinics. That's work that I would like to be helpful with. There's another subcommittee that is the employment subcommittee, as I understand it, and the Office of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion and Community Relations led by Lloyd Gelano has really wanted the commission to partner with them and their work a bit more. Again, this is my understanding, and that's something that I would be, I think, really well suited for. It's a committee that, as I'm sure you all know, there have been disparity reports in Brookline about different groups' access to services and programs in the town. And also, there was a 2024 report by the office that noted that unfortunately there has been less representation in town committees and town government by BIPOC people from 2020. Since 2022 was the last sort of survey that was conducted to 2024. So, there are things that you can do in terms of analyzing the data and seeing why, what are the reasons for this? How do we retain, high performing BIPOC professionals, and what's going on in that whole area? And so then the third subcommittee is observations and committees, observations and celebrations. That's a subcommittee where I think that whole concept of celebrating difference, everyone coming together, and sharing information, their facilitation of sharing information in terms of how different groups are doing things, like that all needs to be coordinated and supported. So in terms of the existing subcommittees, I think I could help there. The other piece I'd really like to work on, if it's something that people feel comfortable with, is sort of eventually understanding circles or some sort of discussion circles where, for instance, I've watched a prior interview, and I know John has brought up like the contentiousness on Facebook. I would really like to see, first of all, I would like, if it was at all possible, for there to be, I know we say that there are rules in Brookline townwide discussion, like no personal attacks and things of that nature. But I would love to see, if it was possible, to have a 3 strikes sort of situation of, once you've done 3 sort of personal attacks, you need to take a breather for a few months. And I know that takes a little bit of analysis and what have you, but we need to bring back some civility and sort of collegiality in our interactions, I feel, in the town. And I feel also that I know the leaders of the Brookline Food Pantry, Steps for Success, a variety of different organizations that maybe we could bring people together, have discussions where we say, these are the guidelines, these are the ground rules, there will be no recording. When people have difficulties, the reason I reference townwide discussion is when there is a really heated topic, eventually, if there could be a break from that and a request that we kind of come together, that those parties all kind of come together and let's talk it out. We make it clear that we're not going to record. We're not, here to do anything other than try to understand each other's perspectives more.
Thank you. John?
Thank you so much for applying for the commission. And, I don't even feel like full disclosure is the right phrase to use, because I've had nothing but good experience with Masu through our common experience on the board of the Brookline Center for Community Mental Health. And I've been on the board perhaps maybe a few years, maybe even a decade or two longer, but that's just because I got started so much earlier. One of the changes that took place with that really wonderful contributing institution in Brookline is that they went from calling themselves the Brookline Community Mental Health Center to calling themselves the Brookline Center for Community Mental Health. And I always thought that concept of community mental health is an important one. And so with your experience and your background, how do you see DEI and also the role of the CDEICR as how can they be contributors to community mental health?
Oh, wow. That's a very interesting question. Um, the center itself, the Brookline Center for Community Mental Health, provides a lot of social services. It works with the Brookline Housing Authority and a variety of other places to provide services in need in addition to mental health supports. I think, John, that's something we'd have to kind of get granular about, if that makes any sense.
Sure.
Like there's data out there, for instance, in one of the Office of DEI's reports, they mentioned that, 12% or so of people live below the poverty line in Brookline. And of that percentage, 50% are BIPOC people. And so when you start to analyze how are different groups impacted in different situations, how can we all, at the Brookline Center, one thing that we've all been very clear about is that we are a compassionate, caring community. And it doesn't matter who needs the service. We are here to provide that access to that service as much as and to as many people as we possibly can. And so I will say that I think in certain circumstances, people of certain, first of all, I think mental health right now is an issue that universally, and is one of the reasons I've gotten involved, impacts everyone, younger people, older people, people of different ethnic and cultural backgrounds, what have you. But I think it's one of those areas that you could do even segmented work with different populations around different things. Who knows?
Thanks.
Yeah.
Michael?
Thank you. And thank you very much for your application and for sharing your experiences and thoughts with us. I have two questions. The first is, how do you incorporate a person's intent and a person's impact when judging their words and actions?
Okay, so the first thing, I'm going to sound very, bohemian peace, love, and everything else here. I have a sense, but I really think, not to sidestep your question, which I will get to, but we are living in probably one of the most stressful, fraught times in modern American history. And I think we, first of all, need to step away a bit from the judgment and work a little bit at providing grace for people. That would be my first comment. I mean, judges sit in judgment and a jury sits in judgment, but for us as private citizens to be doing that to each other all the time and inferring intent, I'm not so comfortable with that, where we've gotten with that as a town. And I do think both intent and actual impact are very important. Like, when you're a first year, second year law student, that a crime is more serious if there's specific intent to commit it, as opposed to, something could be involuntary. So the intent matters, but the impact, as we know, with the eggshell plaintiff, you take the plaintiff as you get them, with all their flaws. And if a normal person wouldn't have been as hurt by an action, but this particular plaintiff is, you have to take that into consideration too. So I think both intent and impact matter. But I think most importantly, we really need to think about the scenarios in which we're judging people, and do we need to be judging people for that?
Thank you. The second question is, last November, town meeting passed warrant Article 15 to recognize and celebrate every month of June as LGBTQIA+ Pride Month, and acknowledge several days and months in the calendar: Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st, International Day Against Homophobia, Biphobia, and Transphobia on May 17th, June 28th as the Stonewall Riots anniversary, every October 11th as National Coming Out Day, every month of October as LGBTQIA+ History Month, and every November is Transgender Day of Remembrance. So as a commissioner, how would you incorporate or propose that we best follow that and recognize and celebrate all of those events?
Well, the first thing I would do, as with anything, is to go to the petitioners who were behind the warrant article, and ask them, what is their hope? What do they envision? With this particular warrant article, I know one of the commissioners was Kevin McKenzie. So I would definitely contact him and say, what have we done in the past? And I believe what's happening right now for that in recognition are that, like, there are schools, 3 schools do painted crosswalks, and there is a pride parade. Do they want to build upon that? Were they looking for something different? How can we help facilitate that? That's kind of my answer.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
David.
In your introductory remarks, you ran through each of the subcommittees.
Yeah.
I'm curious which, not that you're assigning yourself a subcommittee already, but if there's a particular initiative or certain work that most excites you on CDEICR and what that would be.
You know, one of the reasons I did apply was because all 3 of those areas are ones that I'm really passionate about. I have less expertise, I would say, in the Immigrant Advancement Committee, but I'm very concerned about that population. So I would be happy to be helpful, but I think I could probably have more impact in the 2 remaining subcommittees, which were the Employment Subcommittee and the Celebrations and Observations Committee. So I would be happy to, if selected, to help lead the employment subcommittee, to work on it as anybody needed, and to, I want to basically do sort of a self-audit of what's happening and where I'm needed most. And all of those areas are areas I'm really excited about. The third area, that Celebrations and Observations, is really special to Brookline. And I think making it easier for people to be able to celebrate things that are important to them, let's share the information and get that rolling.
Great, thank you. So we will be selecting our among the applicants at a later meeting. We have 4 openings on the commission and a lot of applicants. So it'll be a while before we make a decision.
Okay.
But thank you for your application, and thank you for a very interesting discussion of your thoughts on the commission.
All right. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thanks, Masu.
Next item is actually license renewals, right?
Right.
The agenda changed a little bit, so you want to sort of introduce?
We can tee it up. I want to thank you all for your patience as we've worked through the license renewal process here. As you know, from when we talked about this in December, this is the first year that we have done this process entirely electronically. Previously, we have done this in hybrid fashion. We've allowed folks to submit paper applications, and we've allowed folks to submit electronically. This year, we really made a concerted effort, starting with Melanie's predecessor, Tiffany Oliva, and then continuing on, and Rochelle Morrison, our licensing specialist, who is online, and continuing now with Melanie, who you can see has put her inaugural memo into your packet. Thank you, Melanie. To talk a little bit about where we stand in terms of town licenses and where we go from here. I wouldn't say it's bad news, but the news that's a little different than other years is that it's taking a little longer to complete license applications this year. That is because there are 2 reasons. One is that applicants are unfamiliar with the system and it's taking them a little longer to get used to it. The second is that in some cases, departments are a little unfamiliar with the system and it's taking us a little time to get through things. So there are definitely issues on both sides of the equation here. I will say that it is, at this point, the departmental issues are largely sorted out, not all of them, but some of them. And then the third thing is that because this is all electronic and the process is, the oversight is now better, we are encountering issues that we previously did not encounter or we did not flag because of the, more analog process that we went through. For example, we see that there are a couple of issues with lodging houses that in the past we just may not have seen because we would accept the packet and move forward on that. And that just means it's going to take a little longer for those places to come into compliance. Because in past years, for example, we either haven't noticed that they were out of compliance or there was no submission on that front. And so we are working with all of those applicants to get through that process now. There are three kind of categories in your packet of license to deal with. Category one is the easiest one, the ones that were not done when you looked at this in December, who are done now. After the public hearing, you could take an omnibus vote to approve those licenses for the rest of this calendar year through December 31st. The second group are folks who are not where they need to be with their licenses and need a little more time. And what we would recommend you do there is extend their licenses again through the middle of February. We will work with them to try and get the paperwork that we need or the inspections they need taken care of. And for those bodies that, and ideally, if there are issues that arise, we can then bring them to the licensing panel hearing in mid-February. We can kind of troubleshoot those issues. And if there are things that need to be escalated to the board, intractable problems, we can then do that at your next meeting at the end of February. The third category, the smallest category, is ones where there are issues where there's non-compliance. Either they have not submitted applications or they've failed inspections, or there are things that need to be done on their end that are not being done. And what we would recommend there is that it's really informational on your end. We will issue what we typically issue in those circumstances, which is a letter of violation. We will tell them, we think you're out of compliance with the requirements of the licensing scheme in the town. Your hearing is set for the licensing panel hearing date. And our goal there is to kind of push them a little harder to get into compliance with these requirements, or to tell us, for example, oh, we closed, or we don't want to do this anymore, or, oh, we're sorry, we missed this and we'll get through it. And then again, the folks who we can't troubleshoot for, we will bring them in for a hearing at the licensing panel. We will begin holding that hearing. And if it's something that needs to be escalated to you for discipline, for example, if a license needs to be not renewed for whatever reason, then it will come before you. So ultimately, you will be the decision makers here in terms of if there are entities that are out of compliance that can't get back into compliance for whatever reason, that will come before you at the end of February. So that's our recommendation to you on this front. But again, I want to thank all the departmental teams and the businesses for working through this first year of all electronic processes. It's been a learning experience. We've taken a lot of the feedback to heart, and we're working on making this easier. And again, the end goal of this is to make it easier and make it cleaner, and to make sure that, in the case of some of these things where in the hybrid regime, we weren't seeing some of the issues, that now we have full transparency and full clarity onto some of these matters and are able to follow up with them. So that's where we are on this front, and welcome any questions or concerns on your end.
Yeah, before we start the hearing, any questions from the select board? No? Okay. So let's open up the public hearing.
Okay.
And after that, we'll go through each one of the categories and vote.
Okay, now that the chair has opened the public hearing, if there's anyone that wishes to speak on the license renewals for 2026, please raise your hand using the raise your hand feature online, or make your presence known in the room. So there's nobody online raising their hand, and nobody in the room. So no one's indicating their desire to speak.
Okay, let's move on to the three categories, two of which require a vote. I assume we're not going to vote on the ones that are out of compliance.
No, we'll issue the violation letters, and you'll take a final determination there in February.
Okay, so
Excuse me, was there a distributed list of?
Yes, sorry, it's in your
in the
packet,
packet.
and it's been updated over again, as with last time, we're literally getting applications in.
it may have been a table.
Well, I'm not sure it was. I mean, if you want to
Oh, really?
see all of them listed, you
why I
gotta
got
go
it
to
then.
what's in the.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see.
yeah, yeah,
It's
yeah.
not, it's not in the OneDrive packet.
Yeah, sorry, it's in the,
online.
it's in the online packet. Because we've been updating it over the course of the day.
Michael, I have a printed out copy if you want it.
Yes, please. Thank you.
Okay, let's start off with the licenses that are fully compliant. I don't think we need to go through them except very briefly. Secondhand motor licenses, 5, 9 secondhand articles and antiques license, 4 in-holder licenses, 30 lodging house licenses, 85 alcohol licenses. Let's see. Oh, so 85. And 34 common victuar entertainment and outdoor dining licenses. Any questions regarding any of those? Okay. I move approval of the first category of licensees that are substantially compliant with their requirements. All in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John Van Scoyac.
Aye.
David Perlman.
Aye.
Michael Rubenstein.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Next, we have the licenses that are substantially in compliance, but still have a few things to fix. So I move that we conditionally approve these licenses, and that's 1 alcohol license, 34 common victuar entertainment and outdoor dining licenses, 2 food vendor licenses, and 3 lodging houses. Any questions or discussion of those?
I had a question.
Yeah, John?
You said there is 1 alcohol license
Oh,
in
we
this
actually-
category.
Yep, I'm sorry, Bernard, your list is from earlier this afternoon, that last
Oh,
license,
sorry.
we managed to resolve that, so there are
Okay.
0.
0, yeah.
Okay, so they should have been voted on in the previous vote,
Yes, we'll move
Okay.
them into, I'm sorry, can I take a look at who's there?
a 0 category.
Oh, who is?
2, I don't know what that is.
It
Is that
doesn't
even-
say, it doesn't say what the establishment was, just says.
Yeah, no, so it's a zero category 2. Yeah. So that's, you have the most recent version. I think you just said 1 because you. said
Oh,
zero.
okay, okay.
It is
Never
0.
mind.
Okay,
Okay, sorry.
that's okay.
Okay, any other?
I'm,
Go ahead.
I'm just curious, like for the food vendors,
Mhm.
what kinds of,
Some of this is very simple, like they need to submit a workers' comp certificate. And in the past, that was something that, we just brought a piece of paper in and so forth, and they didn't submit it online. But for others, it is like, for example, maybe, maybe there was a mix up at the departmental level and they're still waiting approval from like fire or something.
okay,
It's not their fault. And so for those guys, for those businesses, we will work with them, make sure that they're all everything is taken care of by February.
I guess it would be interesting and helpful to know if there are any health issues involved here.
So
I'm not sure that we need to go through each one of them, but just a general sense of whether that's an issue with some of these.
And so the good news is in this category, no. In this category 2, no. There's nothing, there are no non-compliant
Mhm.
businesses. It's just that they're awaiting final approval.
Okay.
Then category 3, yes, there are 1 or 2 where health has said, you've got to fix this problem. And so there we're issuing violation letters.
Okay, then I move approval conditionally of the substantially compliant licensees with outstanding items to be taken up again once they have resolved the issues that they face in mid-February probably. Or
Yep, through February
Yeah.
25th is what we would
Okay.
ask.
Okay, so all in favor, please indicate by saying aye. John Van Scoyac.
Aye.
David Perlman.
Aye.
Michael Rubenstein.
aye,
Chair votes aye. Okay, and finally, non-compliant licenses, which we don't have to do anything about. Just
Right.
wait for them to either shape up or we'll ship
Mhm.
them out.
Thank you.
Okay, so next
I do just have a
sorry, yeah.
question. In terms of these numbers by category, how does it compare to prior cycles? Is it pretty stable?
In terms of businesses closing and opening and so forth.
Right.
We're seeing, this is a little bit higher in terms of closures than last year. And I think that's the economic reality on the ground. It's not, I wouldn't, it's not cause for alarm, you know, it's not, we're not seeing a significant uptick, but it is an uptick. We are seeing more closures, we see more closures, but we're also seeing applicants come in. We're seeing new businesses want to come into Brookline. So that's a positive as well. So we're hopeful that, you know, although it's tough to lose some of these businesses, some of which have been with us for a long time, that we're hopefully going to continue to keep our, you know, vibrant commercial districts, you know, and the cores going there.
All right. Thank you.
Great. Okay, next item is Be Well. Dr. Klaczynski is going to present this item to us.
Just gonna have you share the screen. You can go through.
I'm happy to riff while we deal with the technology here for just a second. So thank you all for having me tonight. I'm here to present and share our plan for installing 2 Be Well health stations as part of Project Can Connect. And I want to recognize at the outset, there's a lot of terminology, both in the memo and the presentation. So I apologize for that. We love our names in public health. So Be Well is our coalition, our wellness and substance use prevention coalition. And Project Can is a project that has been ongoing for the past couple of years. That's citizens accessing naloxone. So we've been distributing naloxone throughout the community so that residents are prepared to respond. We've been doing trainings. Over the past 2.5 years, we've distributed over, I want to say about 1,000 doses of Narcan to community members. And we've done trainings for over, I think at this point, 400 or 500 residents, and that continues. So this is a continuation of that project. So thank you all for having me tonight.
If you hit the slideshow, there you go.
Okay, good. So what is Project Can Connect? So like I said, this is an extension of our existing program. And what we're hoping to do here is provide this life-saving medicine and other health resources and making them available 24/7 through public health vending machines. The goal here is to reduce barriers, provide free and stigma-free resources, and promote health equity. This pilot project is funded both by a $25,000 RISE municipal matching grant, and RISE is the program that is managing the opioid abatement funds and programming for the state, and $25,000 from Brookline's opioid abatement funds. So why do we need this in Brookline? These stations will provide, as I've said, 24/7 access to critical health resources. What we're hoping here is that we'll be meeting people where they are. And I'll get a little bit more into that in a further slide. This is going to free up staff to focus on education and outreach instead of supply distribution. It aligns well with our CHIP goals and addresses opioid overdose prevention proactively. And libraries are a trusted and accessible space. They've been wonderful partners for public health throughout the years. During the COVID pandemic, they were one of our distribution partners. They're accessible and near housing and transit, and this makes them ideal locations for us. As far as items that we're planning to introduce, some of these items we are already sharing with the community. As I said, naloxone, fentanyl test strips, and xylazine test strips are products that we share now through Project Can. The doTERRA drug disposal bags was a grant-funded project that we introduced. We don't have, through municipal properties, we do not have drug disposal. So this was an opportunity for us to be able to provide that to the community. What we do now is send people to CVS locations in Brookline and around the region to dispose of drugs. So this is a way for them to do that without having to travel too far. We'll be partnering or as part of this, we will also be hoping to extend Sharps containers. So right now there are Sharps containers at police and public health buildings, and we want to introduce these at the vending machine locations as well, if we can. We do provide, when we have access to them, antigen test kits. So the COVID tests that I mentioned earlier, we've been distributing for years now. We hope to introduce those in the vending machines. Personal hygiene products, sexual health products, and then seasonal items for those who are unhoused. The company that we are proposing contracting with is called Test and Go, and they call their products kiosks. These are great platforms that are focused around public health. They're multilingual. They are prepared to translate into 21 languages. They're ADA compliant. They include assistive devices for those who are visually impaired. They're weatherproof, privacy focused. So the kiosks, which you can see in the bottom right of the corner, there's no glass there. It's a privacy screen. When a resident or a community member comes up to the kiosk, there's a screen on the right-hand side there, a computer screen. It's a touch screen. It shows pictures of all the products. It provides descriptions of all the products, and you can select it on the screen and it'll drop down from the vending machine. The system allows for customizable data collection for the program so that we can do some evaluation. We'll get a better understanding of what products are being used, which ones need to be replenished more quickly or less quickly. And then we have the option to ask some survey questions. Those are optional survey questions, so we can get some demographics. We can ask some other optional questions, maybe about which groups do they identify with? Are they veterans? Are they seniors? Are they youth, et cetera? Now, one of the key points to tonight was to have a discussion about and get your feedback on the locations that we're proposing. So at this point, Darlene Johnson our community health manager, has done a tremendous amount of work with department staff and with community members trying to identify the key locations for the pilot project. We're proposing Coolidge Corner and Brookline Village public libraries. These are accessible locations. They have high to moderate foot traffic. They're recognized access points. Residents are already and community members are using these locations to get services, as Charlie Homer, the chair of ACPH, mentioned earlier, and they're located close to areas where vulnerable populations live. I also wanted to mention, we have the opportunity as part of this contract to brand the kiosks. So we'll have complete control over what visually is presented on the boxes themselves. So it's a great opportunity for us as we launch the Be Well Coalition to do some branding and raise awareness about the coalition's work. We'll have some messaging on there and contact info for our resource navigator that we hired this past year, as well as the resource database that we're beginning to promote. So really quickly, just wanted to share a little bit about what one community is doing. There are 4 communities that currently have kiosks. There's another one that's going to be introducing them shortly. So Somerville was really a model here for us. They have one vending machine at their West End library and one at their food pantry. Like us, they're piloting. I did get a chance today to talk to their prevention manager just to see how it's going. So they soft launched about 2 months ago. And what I heard today was it's been very well received. They did a lot of legwork ahead of time to raise awareness about the fact that they were introducing these. And so nothing but positive feedback from the community so far in Brookline. And one interesting data point that they did share with me was these are 24/7, but are they being utilized 24/7? Because there's no point in implementing them if we can't get people to use them when staff aren't there. And about 40% of the products are being selected during off hours so far in Somerville. And then I just wanted to finish by thanking those who have worked on this project. Darlene Johnson has been a driving force. She's our community health manager. Layla McGeorge is our prevention coalition coordinator. Kat Truissy Bossy is our public health nurse. Abby Dean runs our substance use prevention program down at the high school. And so with that, I'm happy to take questions.
Okay, I'd like, let me start off. So this is a great program, Dr. Klozinski. But we're putting, I think I may have talked to you about this. We're putting 2 vending machines for which we have funding in North Brookline because of foot traffic, et cetera. The main library and Coolidge Corner are pretty close to each other, about half a mile away. And I'm concerned that we may be giving the message that the issues these machines are designed to address are not relevant to South Brookline. And you know, that is something that people of South Brookline are somewhat sensitive to. So I think you know, that's a relevant issue, and maybe thinking of placing one of the machines at Putterham, it would be more of a balancing of our resources for the you know, people of the whole town. just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I appreciate you raising that. That was certainly something that we didn't discuss particularly Putterham Library, but we did talk about the regional distribution for the pilot project. I think ultimately what staff were considering was, again, the foot traffic and being as close to where as many of the vulnerable populations are. This is a community-wide issue for sure. But what we wanted to do with the pilot and the limited resources we have was really focus on where those the bulk of the community members that we expect will use this are. What I'm happy to do, we can certainly reassess. I'm happy to bring that feedback back to our staff and see what they have to say about it. What we can also do, and I should say, I should have said this at the outset, what we're already doing is we are already providing naloxone to the public free of charge in a lot of our municipal buildings as well. So Putterham Library is one of, I think, 6 or 7 locations. So all of our libraries, the senior center, public health building, town hall, and public safety all have sandboxes where residents can go and get naloxone if they're there for kind of in an emergency, but they're also there free of charge. So that's one small piece, is that's already accessible in South Brookline. But as it relates to the rest of the items that would be in that vending machine and whether or not we place a vending machine there, happy to take another look at it. And if we decided to focus on North Brookline with the pilot, the other option is to talk to the library staff and see if they'd be willing to provide some of these same materials through the library. That wouldn't be 24/7, so that would be a gap, but I think that's another opportunity as well.
Yeah.
So
By the way, one of the things I was thinking about is the what do you call it? The drug disposal function. You know, opioids are still a problem, and that's a problem all over the country and all over this town. And you're having a drug drop off in particular seems to me something that you know, should be available to South Brookline, and maybe that can be done, maybe not 24 hours, but you know, during business hours at the library. But I'd sort of urge you to think about that you know, that service as something to provide for South Brookline, as well as the sharps, which are also very, very important. So.
that's a great point. And I will say for the doTERRA bags, residents can right now come into the public health building and we give them out. And we do offer to mail them to those who can't come to the building.
And
but
the doTERRA bags where you put your drugs in and incapacitates.
that's right. Yeah. So the bag has a material in it. You dump the medicine in, you pour some water in, and it creates kind of a substance that makes them inert, the drugs inert.
David?
I just have a few of the operational questions. So it sounds like the upfront costs are covered, but what would be the longer term costs should the town decide to make this permanent rather than a pilot?
Yes. So the long term or the annual costs will be in the neighborhood of about $30,000, which is a little bit more than what we're currently providing from the matching from the local match to the grant. I think that's well within what we can absorb from the opioid abatement funds. Having said that, it's a pilot. I want to see how it works for the community and how well they're being used. I wouldn't want to commit to more than the year. We did look at purchasing versus leasing. Purchasing is a little bit more affordable. If the pilot's successful, I think that's something we can also look at. The benefit of leasing is, in addition to staff not having to check on them on a regular basis and make sure that they're fully stocked, the company is responsible for these units. So if there's any damage, they'll come out and fix anything that's wrong with them. So that's why we went with lease to start, but we are, continuing to assess and want to be as efficient and as effective as we can be. So we will definitely be keeping an eye on that.
All right. Relatedly, and part of your answer, I think, addresses this question. What does success look like? How will it be measured? What metrics are you using? That's
a great question. So from a process standpoint, we're going to be looking at when are the items being selected, what's being selected. And then from a more longitudinal kind of outcome perspective, we are going to be asking some questions on the screen. We can't do a lot because we don't want to create a barrier to use. But we will also be we'll have focus groups, we'll have studies that we do. We have our Qualtrics account, so we can do online surveys, community surveys. And so we'll be working with some of our CHIP working groups and my regional epidemiologist to determine what are the key metrics. So I don't have a specific answer tonight. I'd love to say that having these will have a specific impact long term. I think it remains to be seen because we're doing so much work across a bunch of a number of areas, the substance use prevention work we're doing in the high school, the fact that we're already introducing naloxone to the community through other programs. It's gonna be hard to drill down the public health impact, the long-term impact, but we'll do our best and we'll be looking to community members with expertise in data analysis to help us figure that out.
All right. How quickly does the inventory get replenished?
What I've been told is regularly. I don't know exactly. They didn't define regularly for us. The fact that Boston, Somerville, Cambridge are all already implementing these, my hope is that they will be doing regular routes. I'll get you a specific answer from the company this week when I have a chance to talk to them.
And then one last question. I noticed in one of the slides that wound care units are seasonal. I'm just wondering why it would be seasonal. Don't people get injured year round?
They do. I'll have to go back and look at that one. I'm not sure specifically why that was grouped there. It might have been an accident. But again, I think we will be looking to the community for their input. We'll be looking to those vulnerable populations and saying, what do you need? When do you need it? And we're going to try to be dynamic about what we place in there and when we place it in there. I think winter hats and gloves make sense in the winter. Wound care could be a year long project or item that we include in there. It's a good catch.
Michael.
Thank you very much. I certainly agree. This is a wonderful program and worthy of our support. My understanding, and please correct me if I'm wrong, is that we're already supplying certain hygiene products within public restrooms throughout the town. So some of those products presumably are, for example, in the Potterham Library restroom facilities.
Yes.
And that's been a relatively recent change. Do you have any sense of the impact of that change on sort of the provision of those services? Is that something that has been taken up and that you expect this to extend?
It's a great question. I don't have an answer for you tonight on that. I know we are providing some of those materials in public restrooms and municipal buildings. I know they're in the public health building. I saw them tonight in town hall. I will look to get you a better answer after tonight as far as assessing.
Right. It would building on David's question, just in terms of understanding if there's a baseline of provision that we've already been providing.
Yeah.
Then that might give us a little more insight.
Yeah. And so I think that will be one of the types of questions that we want to ask in some of that community input we get back is, where are you accessing these? Because it'll be the vending machines, but it could also be the sandboxes. It could also be through the Project CAN, naloxone distribution that's happening at the public health building, could be the public restrooms, could be the library. So we'll try to drill down on some of that as we move forward, for sure.
John?
I apologize if this has already been addressed. Do we take on any added liability with this?
I want to be careful. My understanding is no, but I will look to get you I will drill down and get a more specific answer.
Okay.
Like I said, we've already been distributing a lot of these products and that was never raised as an issue, but let me ask that specific question.
We can ask town council.
Yeah.
It's my recollection, although again, I want to be careful about this. It's my recollection that there are specific Good Samaritan type laws around the
Mhm.
provision of harm reduction materials. Such that there's no liability incurred for the town taking the affirmative step to provide it, but I don't recall that for certain. So we'll ask town council to weigh in.
Do we have defibrillators in public buildings?
We do.
Do people know how to use them? I guess that's the
That's-
question.
Yes.
I mean,
So-
well,
We do training on that. Our public health nurse and community health manager have done a tremendous amount of training on defibrillators, AEDs over the past couple of years. That's something we continue to do and work on and educate the public about. They're having been through the training myself in the past year, very easy to use.
yeah.
I was just going to add that the trainings that the health department does are really top of the line. I just want to thank the whole team at the health department. And I would strongly encourage folks to just keep watching social media, keep watching the announcements on the town website, because it's really great to have training. You know, I've had CPR training, I've had AED training, I've now, I went to we did the Wheel of Fortune about public health and so forth. Like it's really great. And it's such a wonderful resource and we're very lucky to have, so.
Great.
Yeah, I mean, it'd be also good to just spread the word around a little more than we have.
Absolutely. My public or community health manager has me doing more TikTok style videos on social media. So you will see more of me out there, and I'm encouring
Don't
other
do
staff to get
TikTok.
involved because I think people have seen enough of me lately. But yes, absolutely. We'll continue to spread the word. And the one thing I would add, on our website, I think it's under our emergency preparedness tab, we do have a GIS map that lays out all of, so it's stop the bleed kits, it's the AEDs, it's the sandboxes. I don't think I'm missing anything. So any of those kind of emergency medical service supports that we have in public buildings are all on that GIS map for the public.
Great.
And Jonathan Simpson, Assistant.
Oh, I'm
Assistant
sorry.
Town
Okay.
Council, is raising his hand.
Jonathan, go ahead.
I would confirm what Chaz said, is that my understanding is the provision of naloxone is covered under, and other harm reduction services is covered under those Good Samaritan laws. That includes the provision of supplies. So the simple fact that these would be, vending machines rather than someone at a desk handing them out, I don't think there would be a liability issue.
Well, if I may ask, is that all right? Ask a
Yeah.
Question, Jonathan, what if some clever, young person figures out how to, access product in a machine? Are there age restrictions on who can access these products from the machine?
That would
Yeah.
be an operational question. I'm not sure.
Yeah, John.
I can answer that. Yeah. So we have the kiosks themselves. You can ask for date of birth and use that as a barrier to access. What I would say is, as it relates to all of these products, I want to limit barriers as much as possible. But we certainly recognize that there may be some concerns with specific items. And so we are prepared to implement that. Other towns have implemented that as an opportunity to create a barrier for those who might be too young for some of these products.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I didn't have any further questions.
So one of the problems that you would age restrict would be the sexual health problems. And I guess, have you thought through the question of, it may be the kids whose parents may be very hesitant to allow them access to that, who need it the most. I mean, I don't know how to analyze that issue, but
I thought a lot about that today. I expected we would have some discussion around that. What I would say is I want to be respectful of that relationship between the child and their parent or caregiver. You're right. There are youth who are going to need those resources. And so what I've seen in other communities is that they are not age restricting a lot of those materials. So I think we need to think thoughtfully about how we do that and what age we select. I think from a public health perspective, strictly from a public health perspective, we need to be doing all that we can to reduce harm where we can. And I think this is a great opportunity to do that. Youth have lots of opportunities for getting those materials outside of these vending machines. So it's difficult, and I appreciate you raising it. I know people are thinking about it. My professional perspective is we should be reducing those barriers and allowing them access where we can and where we feel comfortable. I certainly feel comfortable doing it.
Okay, any other discussion? Thank you.
Thank you all.
Do we need to vote on this?
So there's no vote tonight. We'll bring it back to you on the 27th.
Okay,
Move
good.
forward.
Great. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, well done.
So Melanie, is there anyone who would like to speak in public under public comment now that the meeting's almost over?
There's nobody online indicating that they'd like to speak. And nobody.
We have one person in the audience, and she's not raising her hand yet. Okay. With that, I will end this meeting. Thank you, everyone.
All right.
And it's 8:17. Wow, we're doing pretty well.
Okay,
Mhm.
I have to tell you, don't get used to it. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah.
Town meeting's coming up.
We gotta
There will be an equal and opposite react. The next.